When we are writing a program, often we fall into a situation when we want to save a value. Save a value so that we can use it later and do some more manipulations or further calculations using that particular value. It could be a text message which we want to save to further reuse again and again at multiple places. It could be a numeric value which we want to use in our calculations, right? So how do we code this kind of situation? What do? We use variables. Okay, understand this term, variables. We use variables to code this kind of situation. But what is this variable? Okay, in this video, we will understand about the variables in little detail, and you will be able to understand what is a variable, what does it do, how to use them, and where it is stored. We use variable to store any value that we want to use later in our program. Okay, but what is this variable? We know that everything that could be stored in computer is actually saved inside computer memory. Right. Okay. So how you can imagine, you are writing a program. You can imagine that inside the computer memory, there is a dedicated space allocated for that, for your program, which you are writing. Fine. So imagine you have a program which you are writing, and for that program to run, execute, compile, there is a dedicated allocated space inside the computer memory, which this program will use. So this memory, the program will use for executing the program, for compiling the program, and for running the program, and for storing some information like variables. How you can imagine it? Imagine as if computer memory contains millions and billions of small boxes to contain some values, right? These boxes can hold only one value at a time. And we are using variables to label those boxes. And my variables are nothing but the labels for those boxes, so that computer can understand from where to pick the value. Yeah, so first thing which we understand, every program which you are writing has got a dedicated space inside the computer memory. Okay, all the functions, all the executions, compilations, that particular memory allocation, memory area is used. A variable value is also stored inside that computer memory into the allocated area. And computer variable is nothing but a pointer to a location where your value is stored. Imagine it as a small box which contains the value, and the label which identifies that which value it is. Okay, so the variable is nothing but the label to your box inside the computer memory which contains the value. Okay, number two very important thing is a variable can only hold one value at a given time. It cannot hold multiple values. If there is a box, if you want to put another value, you will have to take that previous value out. So say, for example, if a variable contains a value 5, and if you reassign it with a value 10, the variable's value will be now 10. 5 is out. Variable's value is not 5 now. So let's see how a value could be assigned to a variable. A variable value is assigned something like this. In most of the programming languages, this is how a variable value is assigned. Here we say var because this is a very generic term, but the variables could be of different type based upon the kind of value you want to store. Some basic data types are integer, string, boolean, double, float, number, real number, etc. So these are the some common data types which most of the high-end languages support. We're talking about variable assignment. We say variable name variable I is equals to 5. This is the way to write it. We can't say variable 5 is equals to I, or even when we are reassigning the value from 5 to 10, we will have to write I is equals to 10, not 10 is equals to I. This is not the right way. Another important thing, whenever we are giving a name to a variable, it has to be a meaningful name. Why it has to be a meaningful name? Yeah, it is of course very logical and obvious. It has to be a very meaningful name so that later in your program, you can actually understand why you had declared this particular variable. What was the meaning of it? What do you want to do with it? So again, a brief revision. Variable, we use variable if we want our program to store some value which we want to reuse later in the program. Number one. Number two, all the variables are stored inside a computer memory into the memory space allocated to your program. A variable is actually a pointer to the location where your value is saved. Where your value for that particular variable is saved. You can also assume it like a pointer or like a label to the box which contains that particular value. A variable can only hold one value at a time, not more than one value. This is how you declare a variable, and this is how you declare and you assign together. This is how you reassign a variable value. Vice versa does not work. So see you in my next video where we will do some implementation of variable. We will do some hands-on exercises. We will create a video in which we will add the scores and we will display the scores on the display.